Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Let's go over the 10-game NBA slate for today on Draftkings, and I'm hoping by it being 10 games, the ownership's a little bit more spread out, because, look, I have no problem playing people that are chalk. I do it every single night because I play cash games and single to GPP, so I just play the best lineup possible. I really don't care about ownership. Man, I just hate having the same lineup as like 20% of the field. Like, just for an example, I was in a 30-man GPP tonight. I think there's like 6 of us that got the same lineup. I mean, 6 out of 30 people, I mean, it's just really annoying having the same lineup as everybody, so hopefully we get more unique lineups tomorrow and just less lineup trains. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. It's hard to gauge ownership the night before. I mean, you can get an idea of guys that might be popular or might not be popular, but it's just hard to gauge. But I'm hoping it's a little bit more spread out. I'm sure you guys hope so as well. But before we continue, as always, if you guys could just leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. You can also follow me over on Twitter. I'm at Pennell16. And if you want to support me over on Patreon, it's much appreciated. But if you really do want to, I would wait until Sunday. I think March 1st is Sunday. 28th is Saturday. Yeah. So March 1st, if you do want to sign up on Patreon, that's the best time to do so, because Patreon charges you on the first of the month. And if you sign up today or tomorrow, you're going to get charged again the next day. I don't want you guys to have that happen to you. So, and if I do content every single week for the NASCAR season and every single night for the NBA season. We also have MLB coming up in about a month. I think exactly like a month. I believe the Indians opening day is right in 30 days. So, yeah, very excited for that. Hopefully you guys are as too. I love MLB. I love NASCAR. I like NBA and NFL too, but I absolutely love NASCAR and MLB. So if you guys do want to check those out, links in the description below for that. And without further ado, let's get into today's slate. So up top, we got Giannis. He comes in at 11,600. Is the matchup good? No. But it's Giannis, and he averages nearly 2 points per minute. The guy is a point-per-minute beast, the best point-per-minute rate in the entire league, and he can do whatever he wants in the court. Matchups don't matter. Pace doesn't matter. Vegas totals don't matter. Giannis can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, wherever he wants, however he wants. I mean, the guy's just unstoppable. The problem with Giannis is he doesn't always play huge minutes, and Milwaukee tends to blow teams out. Now, I do not have any Vegas totals out yet for any of these games, although I think I did see one, which was... I think it was Washington versus... No, it was... I don't remember exactly which one it was. It was a high total. It might have been Brooklyn, Atlanta. I'm not sure, though. Either way, not important. But, yeah, I mean, the Bucks, they're always going to have one of the highest implied team totals on the slate, and they usually have one of the highest spreads, which is always a problem, because if they're blowing the other team out, Giannis is not going to see much run in the fourth quarter. Although I will say one game recently, I think it was versus Detroit, they were up like 20, and he was still in late in the fourth quarter, which was odd. Maybe it was because it was the first game back from the All-Star break. But, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't count on it most nights. But as of right now, I got him projected for about 30 minutes. And even if he only gets 30 minutes, he can pay off his 11,600 price tag. I mean, the guy's just absolutely insane point per minute wise. He's at 1.9 points per minute. Leads the entire NBA at a 37.5% usage rate. He's averaging 30 real-life points per game, 6 assists per game, and nearly 14 rebounds per game. He gets steals, blocks. Guy does pretty much everything. Now, again, the matchup sucks here, and the pace down spot sucks here. But they're playing at home. I expect them to push the pace. I mean, they're Milwaukee. They can do whatever they want. DVP chart, OKC is a good defensive team. They are third best, and they rank first versus power forwards. But I don't really care. Giannis can do whatever he wants. So I'm willing to look past the matchup. So if you have the salary, yeah, you can play Giannis. If not, no big deal. I don't think he's a must on this slate. Luka Doncic, he comes in at 10,700. He's fresh off a triple-double. I think he had 64, 67 fantasy points last game. Left briefly because of a thumb injury, and ended up coming back and playing through it. I believe it's a sprained thumb. Now, he is listed as questionable. I expect him to play. Now, I know because he did come back in the last game. Now, I understand the night after, swelling can occur and the adrenaline's gone, so, the injury feels worse than it did during the game because you have the adrenaline pumped into you, and whenever I don't know if they pump something in him, whatever, to take the pain away. But if he plays, yeah, I don't mind him. He's still below 11K. Luka should never really be below 11K. I never understand why he is. So whenever he's in that 10K range, or if he ever got into that 9K range again, which he almost was a few weeks ago versus Atlanta, which was a joke. But I believe he ended up sitting in that game too. But yeah, 10,700. It's a bad matchup versus Miami, but it's fine. I mean, Luka's like Giannis. He's matchup proof. He can do whatever he wants. But again, I don't know if he's going to end up playing, but let's just say he does play and gets his usual 35-ish minutes. I mean, he's got the second best point per minute rate in the NBA, 1.7 points per minute right behind Giannis, and he's got a 37.4% usage rate. He's also about 900 cheaper than Giannis, and he also plays more minutes on average than Giannis. So if he's good to go, he's a fine player versus Miami, despite this being a really tough matchup and not the best game environment in the world. Trae Young, another guy, he's listed as questionable. So both him and Luke are questionable, and both of these guys played in the last game despite their related illness/injury. So Trae Young was listed as questionable for the last game because of an illness. He ended up playing through it and ended up having a pretty solid game. I believe that was versus Orlando. And I would assume he's gonna play. I don't remember exactly what they said. He didn't practice. If he did practice, I want to say he didn't. I don't know how he's gonna feel. That's up to Trey. I'm assuming he's gonna play. I think that's if you had to bet on it, if you gave me $100 and I had to bet on it, I'd bet on him playing. And if he does, he's obviously a good play. He's gonna play all the minutes he can handle. Plays nearly 40 minutes per game. And I love the matchup versus Brooklyn. This should have one of, if not the highest point total on the slate. Just over underwise, I wouldn't surprise me if it's over 240 or close to it, but. Yeah, you got to like Trae Young here. His upside's insane. If you look at the DVP chart, Brooklyn, they're not a bad defensive team, but they struggle versus two spots, and that would be point guards and centers. And Trae Young, point guard, so he qualifies. They're ranked 25th versus the position, so they're bottom 5 team defensively versus point guards, and Trae Young, he's a top 5, top 10 talent in the league. Top 5, top 10 offensive player in the league, that's for certain. Not defensive, he's maybe bottom 5. He's terrible defensively, but that's good because it leads to higher scoring games because they're awful defensively. We know how bad Atlanta is, and this game is going to be a track meet. Both teams are top 10 in pace of play. Atlanta is 4th while Brooklyn is 9th. So always like getting nice game environments like this. And on the year, he's averaging about 35.5 minutes per game, 1.44 points per minute, 34.9% usage rate. Got to have some interest in Trae Young for certain. This is going to be one of, if not the top game to attack on the slate. So, yeah. My Trae Young, he's at an affordable price tag. Nikola Jokic, 9,600. This is a GPP option. Whenever I put Nikola Jokic on my sheet, just for you guys in this video, I always say it's a GPP option because I just never feel comfortable playing Jokic. But 9,600, because he can be up or down, but 9,600 is not a bad price tag, and this is a really good matchup versus the Clippers. Also a big pace-up spot for the Nugs here. They're 28th in pace of play, while the Clippers are 8th. If you ever to the DVP chart, Clippers aren't the best defensive team in the world. They're not terrible, but versus centers, they really, really struggle. So they're top 14 in every position. When you head to centers, they rank 22nd. So they're a bottom 8 defensive team versus big men. And Nikola Jokic, he's one of the best centers in the entire league. He can do a little bit of everything. He's a triple-double threat every single night he's on the court. And on the year, 1.43 points per minute with a 27% usage rate. Got to have some interest in Nikola Jokic in tournaments. Not sure if I'd get there in cash games, but I wouldn't talk you out of it, but I think he's a stronger GPP play than he is cash game. But you can, 9,600 is not a bad price tag, so you could look at him in all formats, in my opinion. Nikola Vucevic, I've been seemingly getting him wrong. Whenever I don't recommend him, he's been getting like 50-plus points. Whenever I do recommend him, he sucks. I don't know, I guess he's just one of those guys that's giving me trouble. But 9,200 versus Minnesota, it's not a bad matchup at all, and it's not a bad spot. The price is a little up there at 9,200. I feel like he's more of a mid to high 8K player. Maybe that's being a little bit greedy. Maybe he should be a 9,200 guy, but I feel more comfortable playing Vucevic when he's in that high 8K range, not 9K range. But big pace up spot here versus Minnesota. The Magic are very, very slow. They're bottom 2 in pace, while Minnesota is top 3 in pace. On the year, 1.3 points per minute, 25% usage rate. You head over to the DVP chart, they rank 19th versus center. So, do you like the spot for Nikola Vucevic? He's fine in tournaments, probably not getting there in cash games. John Collins, he comes in at 8,600. So if Trae Young happens to miss this game, I love John Collins. Obviously he gets a point per minute boost and a usage rate boost, and might even get to see a little bit more minutes just because they're going to need that scoring threat on the court. But even if Trae Young does play, I still have interest here because I think you could just stack this game up personally. And got him for mid-30s minutes here, 8,600. I know it seems a little bit expensive, but love the game environment here. On the season, he's at 1.24 points per minute with a 22.8% usage rate. Yeah, nothing bad I can say for John Collins here. Brooklyn's not that great versus big men. We know that. They're actually okay versus power forwards, but they really suck versus centers. And I guess he's technically a power forward, but they struggle with big men, and John Collins is extremely talented, so don't hate him in all formats. Pascal Siakam, 8,500. So I'm probably not playing him if Serge Ibaka plays, but if Ibaka is out, he has some knee soreness and maybe just some pride soreness from how bad he played in the last game. Or ego soreness, I should say. He was terrible, but if he's out, Siakam, you got to have interest here. He gets a point per minute boost, obviously, and usage rate bump as well, over 30%. So, yeah, you got to like Siakam here in a really good matchup down low versus Charlotte, one of the worst defensive teams in the league versus opposing big men. If you head over to the DVP chart, Charlotte ranks 30th versus centers. I saw that they overtook Chicago. Chicago's slacking a little bit. They got to start giving up more points to big men. They were 30th and 30th. Now they lost their spots to Chicago. And who's 29th now versus centers? I guess there's a tie from Chicago and Atlanta. But yeah, Charlotte, they're just so bad down low. They're bottom 5 versus power forwards and centers. And Siakam, we know he's got plenty of upside. He's got near 60-point upside when he's really on his game. On the year, 1.19 points per minute, 28.6% usage rate. Those numbers go up without Ibaka on the court. Like Ibaka's got 1 point per minute, or I think he's on here. Yeah, Ibaka's at 1.11 points per minute, the 24% usage rate. You take that off the court, obviously he's going to get a bump. So Siakam, you can look his way if Ibaka's out. If Ibaka's in, you can still look his way, but he's definitely more suited for tournaments. Kristaps Porzingis, 8,400. I have him listed here in case Luka Doncic misses, because when Luka misses, it's pretty much a known rule. You just plug and play Kristaps Porzingis. The guy, he's got insane upside, and even some games when he plays alongside Luka, he can still score over 50 fantasy points. We saw it in the last one. He's versus the Spurs. He had 57 fantasy points with Luka playing, getting a triple-double. So they can coexist. I'm not saying you can't play Kristaps if Luka's in, but obviously it's going to help a bunch if Luka's out. If you look at his numbers on the season, he's at 1.25 points per minute, 26% usage rate. You take Luka off the court, he's nearly at 1.5 points per minute with over a 30% usage rate. So, yeah, Kristaps Porzingis, keep your eyes peeled for the Luka Doncic news, but I still think he's fine. But obviously, he becomes an elite play if Luka's out. Aaron Gordon, I recommended him in the last video, and I was not expecting him to get another 50-point game, but I think he had 57 fantasy points, and he was at pretty low ownership as well. Price keeps rising. He's up to 8,200 now, but he's going to play all the minutes he can handle, and it's a really good matchup versus Minnesota, one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They rank 24th versus power forwards, 24th versus centers, so really good matchup here for Aaron Gordon, and it's a big pace-up spot for the Magic. Always like getting pace-up spots here, and there's no total out yet, but I have to imagine the Magic might have one of the higher implied team totals on the slate. And on the year, he's at 0.97 points per minute, but those numbers go up with Jonathan Isaac being out. I mean, he's been out for a while, but again, this is just a whole year sample size, so it goes up a little bit. And he's been playing really well recently, so I do like the recent form he's in. So Aaron Gordon, I think he's fine in tournaments. Not going to get there in cash games, though, with that price tag. Drew Holiday, 8,200, going up against Cleveland. If you're a guard and you're playing Cleveland, you automatically go on the sheet. That's just the rules. It's like if you're a big man playing Charlotte or Chicago, you're going on the sheet just because of the matchup. I mean, Cleveland's just so bad defensively versus guards. They're the second worst defensive team this season. And they rank 30th versus point guards and 30th versus shooting guards. So literally can't ask for a better matchup for Drew Holiday. And I don't really like playing all these I don't like playing Pelicans unless they're cheap enough when everyone's healthy on the team, because you got Brandon Ingram, you got Zion, you got Lonzo, you got Drew Holiday, you got Favors, who's kind of a bum sometimes, but he's still on the court. I mean, all these guys are very capable scorers and just fantasy producers, so it's tough paying top dollar for some of these guys, and they got to share the load with all those guys. But, you know, Pelicans, they play fast, and they don't play defense really that much, so there's definitely enough room for all these guys to hit value. We've seen Drew Holiday playing alongside all these healthy guys. He's scored nearly 60 fantasy points recently, so the upside's still there. Now, it's a pace-down spot versus the Cavs, but they are playing at home. I expect them to push the pace here, and the Cavs are just awful defensively. And on the season, he's at 1.15 points per minute, 25% usage rate. He's fine. I'm not going to talk you out of playing a guard versus Cleveland. DeAndre Ayton, he's coming off a really good game last time out versus the Clippers. And like I said, Clippers been getting destroyed down low versus big men all season. So, I mean, Nikola Jokic, I think he can do it. But, yeah, DeAndre Ayton, he's always been good point per minute wise. And if you take Kelly Oubre off the court, everyone's going to get a bump here. Devin Booker gets a bump. Rubio gets a bump. Sarge gets a bump. Ayton gets a bump. I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. But, yeah, DeAndre Ayton, like the matchup here versus Detroit. They pretty much given up on the season. I mean, he's going to have to go against John Henson defensively, which, I mean, he's not absolute garbage defensively, but, I mean, DeAndre Ayton's going to be able to overpower him. And on the year, 1.24 points per minute, 24% usage rate. If you look at the DVP chart, I know these numbers are pretty much with Drummond playing there all season, but they still rank bottom 6 versus centers, so not worried about Detroit really being able to guard DeAndre Ayton. So you can certainly look his way in all formats. I think that's fine. Sorry to get a drink really quick. Donovan Mitchell, I think we just talked about Ayton. So Donovan Mitchell, he comes into 8K. His price has been rising, but he's a streaky player. But right now he's hot. He's scored like 40, 50. I know he had a really good game last time out versus Boston, but He is playing well, and he gets a great matchup here versus Washington. I assume Utah will have one of the higher implied team totals on the slate, and it's for good reason. Washington is just so bad defensively, and they also get a big pace-up spot here. Jazz are bottom 3 in pace this year, or I should say bottom 4, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay, so the bottom 4, and then they're going up against the Wizards, who are 6th in pace-up play, so you get a massive pace-up spot here. That's about 21 spots. And on the year, he's got a 31% usage rate, 1.13 points per minute. I know he's getting a little bit pricey, but I think he's fine. Is he a cash game play? It's tough recommending Mitchell at 8K in cash just because he can be very streaky and he can certainly let you down. And I guess you could say he's due for a letdown spot because he has been playing pretty well recently. He's a hard guy to trust, but I do like the matchup here versus Washington, DVP chart. I mean, they rank 3rd worst defensively, 27 versus point guards, 24th versus shooting guards. So I do like the spot here for Donovan Mitchell. Not like an absolute lock at this price tag, but definitely like the spot. Zion 8K, he's probably going to get you about 40 fantasy points. I mean, probably nothing more. I mean, yeah, he has upside for more, but when everyone's healthy, makes it tough because Ingram's there. He's got like a 25% usage rate. He's at 1.2 points per minute. You got Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball. I mean, if one of those guys are out, Zion could obviously get 50 fantasy points, but it's just hard when everyone's there and capable. So, I mean, he's probably going to get you about, I'd say anywhere from like 38 to 44 fantasy points. He's probably going to be in that range. So, Zion's fine. It's a great matchup versus Cleveland. They're just so bad defensively. They rank, 19th versus power forwards, 21st versus centers. So, yeah, Zion, he's fine. If you look at his numbers on the year, 31% usage rate, 1.29 points per minute. Been very good point per minute wise. He's not going to play near 40 minutes, but probably going to get around 30. So, yeah, Zion, he's fine in tournaments. Not a cash game play. Jimmy Butler, he's a cash game play. 7,900. He's always pretty safe, especially when he's below 8K. He's going to play mid-30s minutes. Matchup versus Dallas, I wouldn't say it's great. If you look at the DVP chart, Dallas does rank 12th versus shooting guards, 9th versus point guards, 17th versus small forwards. It's not terrible, but not amazing. It's more middle of the road. So I think Jimmy Butler's going to be fine. He's not a guy I'm too worried about matchups most of the time. And if you look at his numbers on the season, 1.23 points per minute with a 25% usage rate. Not going to talk you out of Jimmy Butler. I think he's a nice, safe, solid, mid-range cash game option. You could look his way in tournaments too, but you know what you're going to get with Jimmy Butler. He's not going to drop 70 points, but he can get you around 40. Not too bad, 7,900. Spencer Dinwiddie kind of took a backseat to Karis LeVert last game, and I would have put LeVert on here, but he's 8,300. I'm not paying 8,300 for Karis LeVert. I know he had 60 some fantasy points last time out. Not gonna bank on that happening every single night, but you gotta like the matchup here versus Atlanta. I was hoping LeVert was still gonna be a little bit cheaper, but especially going up against Atlanta, that was not the case, and I'm just telling you, I'm not paying that much for him. So Spencer Dinwiddie, 7,900, still below 8K. And he should be a solid option. I think he gets you 35 fantasy points, if not a little bit more, if he's playing well. It just depends on if Karis LeVert goes off again. It's going to take a direct hit to Spencer Dinwiddie. So let's just hope Dinwiddie's the guy that's hot this time. But love the matchup versus Atlanta. If you look at the DVP chart, they're worse defensively. They rank 19th versus point guards, 26th versus shooting guards. And you look at his numbers on the season. Or I should probably talk about the pace first. It's going to be a top 10. Both teams are top 10 in pace of play. They're 9th, and Atlanta is 4th. And his numbers on the year, 1.16 points per minute, 29% usage rate. You take Kyrie Irving off the court, that goes above 1.2 points per minute with over a 30% usage rate. So, Dinwiddie, I think he's fine. Devin Booker, he sucked in the last game. Like, he big time sucked. I don't remember exactly what he finished with, but the guy cannot hit a shot. And I think he ended the first half with like 7 real life points, something like that. He was having a bad game. But I like his chances to bounce back, and that might just lower his ownership because he was very popular, so a lot of people got burnt from him. So, a lot of people don't like going right back to the well. But in DFS, you have to have short-term feelings. I think that's the right word. Short-term memory. Short-term memory and feelings too. So, Devin Booker, he's going to play all the minutes he can handle. No Kelly Oubre, so his numbers obviously get a jump. And if you look at his numbers in the year, 1.17 points per minute, the 29% usage rate. If you take Oubre off the court, that goes above 30% and above 1.2 points per minute. So Devin Booker, he's fine. It's a good matchup versus Detroit. We've seen guards, manhandle them all season, and they rank 17th versus shooting guards. So pretty good matchup for Devin Booker. I don't mind him in cash or GBP, but Devin Booker's typically more of a GBP play because he is kind of a streaky guy. But when he's on, and he can get 50 fantasy points, and when he's off, he can do what he did last game versus the Clippers. Sorry, I'm going to pause the video again. I'm looking at the Lakers game. Before the game started, I needed 19 points from Rondo to get first on my GPP. Not like a large field where I'm winning $100,000, but one of my single entries. And he had a terrible first half, but I think he's like at 12 now, so he's got a whole half to do it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'd be nice. A good way to start the weekend, but we just got done with Devin Booker. So yeah, De'Aaron Fox, he comes in at 7,700. He missed the game last night or tonight whenever you're watching this video, so we all plugged in Corey Joseph. So make sure you guys keep eye on news. You got to make sure you're flexible throughout the day. So, well, I guess that didn't happen after lock. That was a little bit before lock, but yeah, you guys got to always be watching the news so you know who to plug and play. When guys like De'Aaron Fox get rolled out, Corey Joseph was 3,100. I think he ended up getting like 30 fantasy points. He had a really good game. So, but he's expected to play. It was with an abdominal issue, but expected to play in this game. And if he's a full go, you gotta love the spot here versus Memphis. Now, I will say De'Aaron Fox lets us down, or lets me down more often than he lets me be happy, I should say. But because he can be streaky, he's kind of like Devin Booker. They can be streaky, but the upside's there. They both have 60-point potential. It's just a lot of times it doesn't happen, which it sucks. But you gotta like the upside here, and I love the spot versus Memphis. It's gonna be a nice pace-up spot here for the Kings, as they are 21st in pace of play, while Memphis is 7th. And we all know they're a very, very bad defensive team. They rank 19th versus point guards, 20th versus shooting guards. They are bottom 6, I believe. I think they're 6th worst. And again, this is gonna be a fast-paced game. De'Aaron Fox has been good all season, point per minute wise, 1.2 points per minute with a 29.6% usage rate. Nothing bad I can say about De'Aaron Fox, so certainly look his way, except he can be a little bit streaky. I think there's a lot of good options in this mid-range, so the more I'm looking at this, again, it's the night before, so I don't know exactly, but maybe a more even, like a more balanced build might be the way to go. Now, there's probably going to be enough value to fit in a guy like Trey or Luka, but I love this mid-range. You got Brandon Ingram, who I'm about to talk about, De'Aaron Fox, Spencer Dinwiddie, Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, even Zion's finding tournaments, Donovan Mitchell, Ayton. I mean, these are all really good mid-range options. Now, you're probably going to have enough dough to fit in a guy because you can potentially play some of these guys. But, yeah, I'm really liking this mid-range. It's looking like one of those days where a lot of good 7K plays, which I always like this kind of slates because, hey, when it's like really top-heavy, you got to play all these scrubs unless it's really obvious scrubs, and I feel comfortable with it. But not seeing like too many obvious scrubs unless there's an injury. But, yeah, let's talk about Brandon Ingram, though. He comes in 7,500. Finally had his breakout his first breakout game since last time he got injured. He's been putting up some kind of clunkers, like high 20s, low 30s, but busted out for I think 50 fantasy points, 50 or 54 fantasy points versus the Lakers in a tough matchup. He balled out, so it was nice to see. And he's still only 7,500. He was in the 60, I think he was 68, 6,900 in the last game. Bumped him up to 7,500, but I'm still willing to play Brandon Ingram at this price tag because the guy's been, when he's healthy, he's been good all season long. He's going to play over 30 minutes. He's on a good team that plays fast. Good team offensively, I should say. And good matchup versus Cleveland. Look at the DVP chart. Cleveland, they rank 28th versus small forwards and 19th versus power forwards. So really good spot here for Brandon Ingram. Can't ask for a much better matchup. They play really fast. They're second in pace of play. And on the year, numbers are strong, averaging 34 minutes per game at 1.24 points per minute with a 28% usage rate. He should be a little bit more expensive. So yeah, Brandon Ingram, I think he's one of the best mid-range plays on today's slate. All right, so I've talked about a lot of Pelicans, and if you want this game to stay close, because we know how bad the Cavs are, so there's always potential for this game to blow out. So in tournaments, I'm not saying to do this in cash games, but in tournaments, if you want to play some of these Pelicans, you got to run it back with a Cavs player or two just to hope this game stays close. It just makes sense game theory-wise. So Kevin Love, Andre Drummond's going to be out, so we don't really have to worry about him cutting into minutes or anything. So if this game stays close, he should play anywhere from 30 to 35 minutes. And it's a good matchup versus New Orleans. Nice fast-paced matchup. Suits a guy like a guy like Kevin Love pretty well in a nice fast-paced game environment. Guy who's not afraid to shoot the ball a lot. Big pace-up spot, 19 spots. They're 21st in pace of play, while New Orleans is second. On the year, 1.15 points per minute, which is pretty solid. 23% usage rate. You look at the DVP chart. New Orleans does rank 23rd versus power forward. So I think Kevin Love makes sense in game stack GPPs here just to run it back with the Pelicans. So say you want to go with, I'm not sure it's the smartest way to go with Zion, Drew Holiday, and Brandon Ingram. You can do it. I'm not saying I'd love to do that, but it makes sense to run it back with someone like Colin Sexton or Kevin Love. So don't hit that game theory-wise. Christian Wood, 7,200. So gonna play about 30-ish minutes here. I know it's hard to trust Detroit with minutes sometimes, but Good matchup versus Phoenix. They've struggled with big men all season. If you look at the DVP chart, Phoenix does rank 16th versus centers. They have been getting better. They were a lot worse, so they have been showing some improvement. But I still think this is going to be fine for Christian Wood here. We know his kind of upside. He's got 50-point potential. And if you look at the DVP chart, I'm sorry, not the DVP chart, the pace chart, it's a nice pace of spot for the Pistons. They're 25th in pace of play. Wow, Phoenix Suns are 10th. And on the year, he's at 1.17 points per minute, the 22.5% usage rate. You take guys like Kennard off the court, Drummond off the court, Blake Griffin off the court, Markieff Morris off the court, and Reggie Jackson off the court. He's closer to 1.3 points per minute with over a 25% usage rate. So, yeah, Christian Wood, he's fine. I think you could get away with it in cash games. I don't really like playing on Detroit, but he's a solid option nonetheless. Evan Fournier, 6,500. He had a really good game last time out. I think he scored like 46 fantasy points, and he gets a really good matchup here versus Minnesota. He just played Atlanta, so good matchups continue here versus the T-Wolves. Big pace-up spot. They're 29th in pace of play, while Minnesota's 3rd. So love getting guys in pace-up spots, and he's been about a point per minute guy this season, 24.5% usage rate. Now, they did raise his price, but I still think you can pay this off in tournaments. Probably not going to get there in cash games just because of the price tag, but Minnesota is ranked 24th versus power forwards and 25th versus shooting guards, so I think Evan Fournier is fine in tournaments more so than cash. I mean, I wouldn't scold you for playing him in cash games, but I think he's better tournament play. Colin Sexton, 6,400. I already touched on it, but if you want to play Pelicans, you should probably run it back with like a Cav or two, and my top 2 Cav options would be Kevin Love and Colin Sexton. But he's 6,400, and if you're a guard playing New Orleans, you're always going to be on the sheet. It's pretty much like if you're a guard playing Cleveland. So go figure they're playing each other. But yeah, New Orleans. You think Cleveland's bad versus guards? They're pretty darn close to it. They're ranked 29th versus point guards, while Cleveland is 30th. So 2 worst teams defensively versus point guards. So got some interest in Colin Sexton. He's pretty scoring reliant, but he's been scoring pretty well. He's getting to play mid-30s minutes here as long as the game's close. Pace up spot. 0.92 points per minute, the 27% usage rate. Don't hate the idea of using Colin Sexton. I think you could do worse things on this slate for sure. Sorry to keep pausing. My dog wanted to get on my lap, so he is now on my lap. So I got to pet him, so I got to do double duty here. But I did just take the Lakers game, and Rondo, he really took a step forward this half. He's got 21 fantasy points. He had now he's got 23.75. He's doing pretty well. But yeah, so he moved into first place. But man, he's got the same lineup as 5 people in a 30-person GPP. It's just, I was expecting it, but it's just really annoying. But you guys are curious what the lineup was. It was Corey Joseph, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Whiteside, Rondo, Gallinari. I always say he's like a last piece fit for me, and he tends to do well. And hey, he got 33 fantasy points. He doesn't usually fail me. I don't think I've ever played Gallinari on a bad night. So yeah, Gallinari did fine, and then 80's in the util spot. I had to play 80 tonight, so yeah. Hoping that holds, but yeah, Rondo seems like he's doing pretty good, so. All right, anyway, I don't know if you guys were interested. I don't know if that was boring to you guys, but just sharing. Anyway, okay, so Serge Ibaka, he comes in at 5,900. He's questionable for this game. I unfortunately played him in the last game, and it was the most frustrating thing I think I've experienced all season DFS-wise, just because I've never seen someone play so bad. He's been playing great all season, and then I don't know what he was doing. He was just chucking threes. It was kind of reminding me of that video on Twitter where it's kind of like the huskier guy, and he's just he's replicating a 3-point contest, and he's just chucking the ball at the thing, and he's hitting the top of the backboard. That's what Serge Ibaka was doing in that game. It was just terrible. He could not make a shot. He actually started out the game with a 3-pointer, the first minute or two. And I was like, all right, we're gonna get a good Serge Ibaka game. Got a couple of rebounds. Nothing after that. I think he finished the first quarter with 9.5 points, finished the game with, I want to say, 10. It was terrible. Man, that sucked, too. It cost me cash in that night because everyone else did pretty good, but it was one of those nights where everyone had the same lineup. It was like a big 2v2. I went Ibaka, something else, but yeah, it was a mistake. But if he's good to go, 5,900 versus Charlotte, I'll go back to the well. It's gross, especially when a guy burns you like that. But like I said, you got to have a short memory in DFS. Just look at the numbers, and the numbers will tell you to play Serge Ibaka. I know it was bad. I'm hoping he doesn't play, just so I don't have to play him, because I'm a little mad at him. But if he does play and he's a full go and he gets his usual 30-ish minutes, 5,900 versus Charlotte, he's paying off his price tag unless he just continues to chuck threes at the back of the backboard again. Not saying he actually did that, but it's just what it reminded me of. But if you look at the numbers, Charlotte's dead last versus centers. They rank 30th versus big men and 26th versus power forwards. So yeah, you got to have some interest in Serge Ibaka here. And if you look at his numbers on the season, he's at 1.11 points per minute, the 24% usage rate. I would have a hard time believing Ibaka can't get this 30 fantasy points at 5,900. So obviously be a pretty good point per dollar option. So you can certainly look Serge Ibaka's way. I just pressed the wrong button. Whoops. Okay. All right, going back to the video portion. So right below Ibaka, we got Derrick Rose. Again, I do not like playing these Detroit guys. The minutes aren't safe. Derrick Rose really hasn't topped 30 minutes in a long time. But 5,700 versus Phoenix. If this game can stay close, he might be able to touch 30 minutes. And if he does, I think he can pay off versus Phoenix. Again, it's a big pace-up spot for the Detroit Pistons. And the Suns are not that great defensively. They rank 16th versus point guards, 20th versus shooting guards. It's not the worst defensive team in the world, more mid-pack, but they're not great. Nothing something I'd ever shy away from them. And Phoenix is top 10 in pace of play. And on the year, Rose is at 1.18 points per minute, the 31% usage rate. If you take all of those guys off the court, like I talked about with Christian Wood, he's at about 1.3 points per minute, with a little bit over that actually, and about a 36% usage rate. So when he's on the court, he performs well typically. I know he's not been playing great recently. He did have a decent game last time out, but he's risky. I don't know if I'd get there in cash games, but he's certainly fine in GPPs. Mike Conley, 5,100. He just continues to have a late season resurgence. He was terrible for a stretch earlier in the year, but he's been playing pretty well. 5,100, and like the spot versus Washington, is going to play about 30 minutes, if not a little bit more, just depending on how he's playing or how the rotation goes. But yeah, like the spot versus Washington, they are third worst defensively. They're ranked 27th versus point guards, 24th versus shooting guards. And he's just been playing well. And on the year, he's been at, 0.9 points per minute. But he's been playing, he's been playing better than that number indicates recently. 23% usage rate. He's fine. I like the matchup versus Washington. Big pace-up spot for the Jazz. I think he can pay off his salary at only 5,100. Just press my Discord app instead. I'm sorry. And Mr. GPP play, Jared Allen. I say that every single time I put him up, and that's why I said you cannot play him in cash games, because last game, he did what he does. He had 2 straight games of really good games, paying off his salary, and then in a good spot last time out, I don't remember who it was against. I'm trying to remember, I can't remember. He sucked. He was in the teens. That's just what Jared Allen does. He's on wide ends of the spectrum. He can finish all the way up here, or he can finish all the way down here. It's what he does. So that's why you don't play him in cash games. He's more reserved for GPPs. Now, 5,100 versus Atlanta is enticing for cash games. So I'm not going to completely rule him out, but the risk is there. So it just depends on how risky you want to be in cash games. I think he's fine in all formats because, man, it's Atlanta. It's hard not to pay off a price tag like that versus Atlanta. But his minutes fluctuate. He can play teens minutes, he can play mid-20s minutes, or he can almost touch 30. It's very up and down with Jared Allen. But you had that bad game last time out. But you gotta love the spot versus Atlanta. They rank 28th versus centers. Yeah, 28th versus centers are the worst defensive team in the league. It's gonna be a fast-paced game. This game should have the highest total. If I had to guess, should have the highest total. I can't really think of another one that would. Cleveland, New Orleans, maybe, but yeah, it should have the highest. Maybe not Orlando, Minnesota. Yeah, it's probably gonna be Brooklyn, Atlanta. And on the year, he's at 1.09 points per minute. If he can rack up the blocks, too. If he's racking up blocks, he'll pay off this price tag. But just know there's risk with Jared Allen because he can be very up and down. He fluctuates a lot. D'Anthony Melton, he comes in at 4,400. I don't know. I just like playing this guy. I don't play him a lot. Maybe I like recommending the guy. But he's been decent this season. And 4,400, had an okay game last time out. But it's a good matchup versus Sacramento. They are very good versus big men, but they struggle versus guards. So they are 2nd and 5th versus power forwards and centers, and they rank 17th versus point guards and 23rd versus shooting guards. And Melton's pretty good point per minute wise. He's at 1.05 points per minute, the 20% usage rate. Not going to play big minutes. Got him for about mid-20s here, which isn't too bad. So I think he can pay off his price tag. Not expecting a lot, but I think you could do worse than Melton at 4,400. Now we got Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. So I only have him listed here in case Serge Ibaka misses. If Ibaka's in, I'm not playing him, but if he's out, RHJ and Chris Boucher are going to get extended minutes here, and they're very cheap, and the matchup versus Charlotte, that's elite. I'm not going to go show you the DVP chart and all that, but If Ibaka's out, we can certainly have interest in Rolando Hollis-Jefferson and Chris Boucher. Cody Martin, he's had 2 pretty solid games in a row, and now Malik Monk is gone, so he's just going to be in line for extended minutes here. Got him for near 30 and 3,700. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Not gonna go. It's not crazy good. It's not a good matchup versus Toronto, and his numbers suck on the season. But if you take these guys off the court, he'll be fine at this price tag. John Henson, he drew the start last game, and he had over 20 minutes the last 2 games, and he's been okay. And he's only 3,500 going up against Phoenix as a big man, and they struggle versus big men. We've seen it this year. They ranked 16th versus centers. And Henson, not the worst point per minute player in the world, at 1.05 points per minute. Not too bad at all for this price range. And there's just a lack of bodies on Detroit, and it's a nice pace-up spot versus Phoenix. So John Henson, I don't hate it. Bruno Fernando, so I don't mind him. Dwayne Dedmon is going to be out, and obviously Clint Capella is not playing yet, so he is going to be the main big man. He drew the start last game. Should play over 20 minutes, and he actually had a pretty solid outing. And good spot versus Brooklyn. They struggled 2 spots defensively. That's point guards and centers. I showed you guys on the DVP chart earlier, but I'll show you again. They ranked 25th versus point guards, 8th, 6th, 8th, and then 27 versus centers. So I think Fernando can pay off his price tag here at 3,400. 0.86 points per minute on the year, not amazing, but he's really cheap and I like this game environment, so don't mind Bruno. And then Chris Boucher, if Serge Ibaka happens to miss this game, he's pretty good point per minute wise, 1.17 points per minute. If you take Ibaka off the court, that goes up a little bit, and not like they play it together a lot because kind of just subs in for him. But Chris Boucher, 3,400, good matchup versus Charlotte. I certainly think you could do worse than him if Ibaka happens to miss this game. And that's pretty much going to be it for the player-by-player breakdown. Before we get out here, though, I do want to talk about OverlayDFS.com, sponsor of this video. Alright, so if you guys have been watching my videos, you know what this is already, but if you're new to the channel, this is OverlayDFS.com. I really enjoy playing over here. I would not recommend it to you guys if I didn't play there myself. But it's a new way to play DFS. You don't have to build lineups or anything. There's no salary cap restrictions. There's no sharks here. You don't have to worry about Chipotle Max entering these contests or anything. It's just a pick'em based website. So this is a couple nights ago. But if you thought Fred VanVleet was going to outscore Eric Bledsoe, you picked VanVleet. If you thought Hayward was going to outscore SGA, you picked Hayward. If you thought Fox was going to outscore Andrew Wiggins, you picked De'Aaron Fox. And they give you 12 options. And there's you have to pick 12 options. And there's 20 some options. So you don't have to. You can pick your favorite ones, whatever one you think have the biggest edge on, and then if they happen to win that matchup, it goes to your record, and if you finish in the top 10% of the contest, you win 9 extra money, and that's probably my favorite thing of OverlayDFS.com. Their payout structure is amazing. Finish in the top 10%, you 9 extra money. To be able to 9 extra money on DraftKings, you got to win the whole thing, and I got first in my single entry tonight. I didn't even 9x my money. I didn't even tell you. I'm I don't know, 4x, 5x. I'm not even 9xing it. I won. So, I love the payout structure here. Absolutely love it. And the jackpot here. So, if you go 12-0 on your picks, it's over $13,000. Do not miss out on the chance to win $13,000 by going 12-0 on your picks. People have been close every single night. A guy went 11-1, I believe, last night. So, yeah, someone's going to win it. Why not you? Hopefully me. But if it's not me, hopefully one of you guys. It's got to hit at some point. I think we're going on 90 days. So, yeah, check it out, guys. OverlayDFS.com. Also running some special challenges. So, if you happen to go 0-12 in your picks, fortunately, that sounds about as hard as going 12-0 in your picks. They'll give you $500. And they're also running a Slump Buster challenge where if you lose 20 days in a row, not consecutive days, but say you play once a week for 20 weeks in a row and you'll lose every single time, unfortunately, they will refund every single dollar that you deposited. So, they're basically daring you guys to lose. So, check it out, guys. There's no promo code required. I'm not going to put the link in the description below because I don't want to get banned on YouTube for a week because that would suck. So just check it out. It's exactly how it sounds. OverlayDFS.com. Check it out. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hope it was helpful. If it was, remember to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Really helps me out. Really appreciate it. Follow me over on Twitter, ChrisPennell16. And I'll see you guys in the next video.